During October, we're thinking about what stewardship has to do with following Jesus. Last week, we thought about stewardship of time. Today, stewardship of talent. I asked Matt, Kenny, Mary Doug, and Carrie for their thoughts, just off the tops of their heads, on the stewardship of talents.
When I think of a stewardship of talents, I think of all the gifts that God has given us as His body and how different and diverse they are, and how we are to recognize all of our gifts and to develop them within this context called the church. And I believe that to be a good steward of our talent is not to be afraid of exercising those gifts and developing those gifts as we grow in our discipleship.
God put things in us and allowing both interests and abilities to come out, and not being swayed by what things look like in the short run. Sometimes there are desires or seemingly talents that haven't come to fruition. In other words, there can be some failure along the way, and how to continue to let the desire and direction that God's put in there just have some time and not measure ourselves along the way. Sometimes measuring ourselves causes us to be discouraged, rather than just going with things that we enjoy, things that we desire, pursuing a goal and being patient along the way and continuing. And I think enjoying the journey is a big part. If we find we're doing something that is enjoyable along the way, we'll have more stamina, more ability to do the small things, even the things that are not seen. And in that, we ultimately can have more visible results. But whether the big visible results show or not, we know we're on a path we enjoy and that's meaningful to us, and that is in a position that God can use for what He wants to.
When I think of using my talents in service to Christ and His kingdom, quite frankly, the creative juices begin to flow, and I get excited about doing things that I naturally love to do. And that's taken me in places that I never thought I'd go. I've developed talents that I didn't even realize I had, just for the joy of creativity. And I think when we express ourselves creatively, God is glorified. I think He delights in the work of our hands, and we reflect His nature when we create and when we use our talents in ways that bless others.
But I love serving. I love, in whatever case it may be, whether it's building a wall here or tearing a wall down upstairs or going to the Dominican with the student ministry. And I think that is kind of a segue into the talents thing, where I thought my talents were construction and stuff. And a couple of years ago, when I was approached about going to the Dominican, I was like, well, what are we building down there? How are we going to go and do a mission trip without building something? And that was, I guess, the play on me, because God really showed using what He gives you and being open to His word and being His hands and feet is the talent. That to me is being used by Him is the talent. So.
Did you notice how they described stewardship of talents as a growth area? They described how God called forth talents that they didn't even know they had, and how that process of development took some patience, and how it was a delight to be used by God even while still in process. They may have been speaking off the tops of their heads, but you could hear them speaking as well from the bottom of their hearts. And their description connects with us. For in the bottom of our hearts, we really want to be good stewards of the talents God has given, even while we're still figuring them out. There is great freedom in such service and great joy.